All right, surprise, surprise. I've been watching Love is Blind. And there's this woman on there who's just like, of course, I want a prenup, da 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 da. And he's like, okay, sure. And then she mentions that to the family. And the whole family's like, sounds like she's 1 foot out. Sounds like she's not into it, all this stuff. And like, you can see that there's a lot of drama going to come up with it. And she's just like, what do you mean? Like, everybody now does these. I don't understand why it's so taboo. And this family is not having it. They're not having it. They're like, she doesn't want to get married. And it's just so funny how that dynamic is really switching, because that's something we talk about all the time here, is how to get a prenup, why it's so important. And so many people I talk to are like, well, I don't really have money, or, blah, blah, blah. You got to get a prenup. I mean, you've got to these days. And he was talking about his student loan debt that, they were going to pay off together. And I was like, okay, she already paid off all hers, and now they want to get married and take on his debt. And I loved that she talked about this and just made it so nonchalant and so casual. But I'm excited to see what they're going to do, because people are saying she's 1 foot out then, which I totally disagree with. And I think everyone needs a prenup, because just in case anything happens, you've got that there for security.
Yes. And one thing that we learned on our podcast is when you do a prenup, that's the time where you have to really expose all of your assets and your liabilities. So what do you own and what do you owe? And you bring that to the table, and you really have a robust financial conversation about where you are today with your finances, which I think is so important, because I don't think I had those conversations in my first marriage. We did in our second, but live and learn, right? And like I said, we need to make this whole idea of getting a prenup not so negative, so like you said, 1 foot out, but making it more of a holistic part of the engagement of being married.
I mean, you've got to talk about who's going to be planning to stay home to take care of these children, if anyone is, and how that's going to be funded. I mean, we need to have that discussion now before we're 5 years in, and then it's like, oh, I just assumed that you were going to quit your job, and I just assumed that I was going to pay the bills. And, these assumptions that are like, just because that's how your family did it does not mean that's how I want to do it. But we just think from our previous life that this is just how it's done, how it's going to do, and the other person's going to fall into that place as well. And it's not always like that. And so it's just super interesting. And I'm so glad that they're having these conversations, especially on, reality TV, right? It's like, oh, we're not going to talk about money. But some of these people are like, no, I get this. This is real. We're talking about it. And we need to keep talking about prenups.
Yeah, and they're kind of normalizing that conversation and bringing it into the fold. And I love how the different reactions around that topic, because it's foreign, because we think prenups, that's for people who have a ton of money, many houses, huge estates, things like that, the celebrities.
Well, and they just don't want to marry me for money. They're marrying me for love. They're not just marrying me for my wealth. So they're signing a prenup.
Exactly. But that's not it, right? It's about really diving into your financial status, where you're at. And again, what kind of debt are you bringing in? What are we going to be responsible for? Because like Lori said, it depends what state you're in. And she works out of California, which means once you get married, everything is in one bucket, debt, assets, everything. So not true in all states, but in the state that she's working with. And take it from somebody who's navigated over 500 divorces.
God bless. Couldn't do it.
That's a lot of wisdom coming to the table. And if she says a prenup is where it's at, no matter what kind of income you have, what kind of assets you own, what kind of inheritance is coming your way, I'd believe her.
Yeah. And my thing is like, you never know with life where you might be living when you get divorced, right? Like, that doesn't mean you're going to be in the state you're in now. So you don't know those legal rules if all of a sudden we move to, South Carolina or whatever it is, right? And so just to have this as protection, whatever happens, yeah, I'm going to take Lori's advice and say, get that prenup, because 500 divorces later, I would say she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah, she's brought such great wisdom, especially how she became a millionaire before she was 40.
Let's just dive in.
Gloria Steinem once said, "We will never solve the feminization of power until we solve the masculinity of wealth." Barbara Provost and Maggie Nielsen are the team at Purse Strings that will help you navigate the ins and outs of financial independence so that you can be financially fearless. This is Women in Money, the shit we don't talk about.
Lori, we are so excited to have you on the show today. Before we dive in, can you share with our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Well, Maggie and Barb, thanks for inviting me today. So I have been a financial advisor and wealth manager, and over the past many years, I've focused on divorce financial planning and divorce financial analysis. I've also written a book about my experience with going from nothing to building wealth, about how I became a millionaire before I turned 40. And I know we're going to discuss some of those tips today to help inspire and educate other women that they can do the same thing.
Yeah, awesome. We're excited to have you on and kind of dive into some of these things. So just to get started, can you share a little bit about your background and what sparked your passion for helping women with their finances?
Look, when I was growing up, my brother and I grew up with a single mom. She'd been divorced twice, and she was a teacher. So she was a working single mom. Teachers make a pretty good income. When I got older, I realized something I thought was normal was really not normal. My mother received an allowance from her father until the day he died.
Wow.
So my mother was dependent on a man for her financial security. And, when we're a child, we think this is normal. We think our experience is normal. And as I got older, I realized, wow, why was that the case? Well, it was simple. My mother chose a career that generated a certain income, but she had a desire to spend more than she earned. Hence the problem. Hence the problem that we have so many women I work with now when they are going through divorce. They may have been the breadwinner or they may have not been the breadwinner. And there are so many issues that are layered into both types of clients, the breadwinner woman and the non-breadwinner woman. And it just inspired me to really early on think, you know what? I can't depend on a man for my financial security. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to have children as a young adult, so I thought there's really no reason to rush in and get married. And I felt the number one thing that I could do is take care of myself, Laurie Itkin. And while money isn't everything, money really controls this world, and it gives you options for what you do. And so I was really motivated to excel in my career, to make money so I could feel financially secure and never be dependent on anyone else.
So why did your grandfather, her father, give her a monthly allowance? Is it because she wanted to spend more, or she needed it to foot the bills, or was he wealthy? And why did that happen? I've never heard that before.
I think it's the reality of life. And things are only getting more expensive these days, especially in the state in which I work. California is one of the most expensive cost of living. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is pretty affordable. I think it is simply a reflection of, although my mother worked, she did not work in a career that was enough to cover having 2 kids. We were not extravagant. We really weren't. When I look back, there were a couple of things that cost money. I mean, my mom did send me and my brother to summer camps every year. That's expensive. We know people with kids right now know how expensive camps are. And for a couple of years, because the teachers were on strike in Pittsburgh, we went to a private school. She couldn't afford to send us to private school. And also, my mother liked refurnishing the house, buying new clothes, nothing extravagant, but things that you just can't really afford on a teacher's salary.
Got it.
Wow, interesting.
And this is the message I give to women. I know I sound really hard, like a cold shower, and I have to be that way. People pay me to give them this type of advice because there are so many women I encounter through the divorce process, or women contemplating divorce. And they say either, oh, I want to retire before I'm 65, or, oh, I want my dream job, oh, I want to start my own business, without having any concept what it really costs them to breathe every day, what it costs their kids to breathe every day. So this is the most important choice I think a woman can make. What type of life do you want? And what are you going to do to earn the money to support that lifestyle?
Yeah, we agree with everything you're saying. Women need to know, first and foremost, where's your money going? And so often when women say, where do I get started? That's the place that we always say. And we have worksheets to help you work through that. Because if you don't know where you are today, it's hard to really discern where it is you can go in the future. So we like the fact that you're like a cold shower, because we need to bring women to the table and have these conversations for the betterment of them. And you know this more than any of us, working with so many women who have gone through divorce. And it's a struggle, right, financially after divorce. So how does that shape your views on money and independence as you're working with all of these women who are going through divorce and kind of finding the reality of what it's going to take for them to live independently?
Yeah, it's a real challenge, isn't it? And it's scary. It's scary for everybody. It's scary for me too, because these women are relying on me. And so not only do I have to be the financial reality check, I need to be a champion. I need to help women feel there's light at the end of the tunnel, feel they have confidence. It's so interesting to me. There are so many women I work with who are high earning professionals. I mean, all the professions you think of that earn, engineers, doctors, lawyers, you name it, and business people. And they have no confidence about money. They are afraid of budgeting. They don't want to know where their money's going. So I appreciate, Barb and Maggie, what you are doing in terms of providing worksheets to help women understand where does their money go. So that's the first step in any of these, is absolutely understanding. And it's not that difficult to get the big nuts.
Right.
What do you pay for your mortgage? What is your property tax? What are you paying for car insurance? What's really difficult to budget for are vacations, or holy cow, what if my home is 15 years old, what am I going to need to repair and maintain? How often do I need tires for my car? I don't really have a monthly budget for tires, but every 3 years I might need to spend $1,000 on tires. So that is the most important work, I think, of any of this, no matter where a woman is in anything, single, married, divorced, understanding what it costs her every month, what it costs her children every month.
Yeah.
That is power. That knowledge is the most important thing. I can't overemphasize it.
Yeah, because once you know that, you're in a place to make very good financially conscious decisions one way or the other, and see where the leaks are, or see where you might be able to do more investing or whatever it might be for your behalf.
And I always just think it's interesting that no matter how much money you earn, it's like you need to know this. And so many people think, well, if I just earn more, I won't have these problems, these issues, whatever it is. It's like, no, you still need to know where all that money's going. If you're earning 30K or 300K or 3 million, like you need to know where it's going. And so it's just always so interesting that like this is a problem at every income level we see, is just not knowing where your money is going. So it doesn't matter how much you're earning, you've got to know what's coming in and what's going out.
I love your point there, Maggie. That is absolutely right. Isn't that interesting that it doesn't matter? Some people say I make so much money, I don't need to budget. Well, that's not true, because SHIT happened, and you don't know. You cannot take for granted the financial situation you're in. Again, strong opinion, but I feel that the more wealth you have, the larger responsibility. You have to make decisions if you have children, what you're going to leave for your children, how that will be managed. I also think wealthy people should engage in philanthropy, if not wait till you're dead. I mean, the more money you have, the more you can afford to help others. And I think you have an obligation to manage your money better. I mean, I'm retiring from wealth management to focus solely on my divorce financial planning business with prenups, postnups, divorce. But I have several clients who have inherited money. And do you know the sense of dread they feel? Like, you would think you should feel relieved. You just inherited 1.5 million in an inherited IRA. But the sense of dread and responsibility, because they don't want to make mistakes. They don't want their parent to think they are not the manager and steward of this incredible gift that was left to them. So Maggie, you're right. No matter what level of wealth you have, it's lots of issues.
In your story at 24, you invested your small inheritance into Starbucks stocks instead of spending it. And, what led you to that, and how did it kind of impact then your financial journey? As that's a, pretty smart decision to make at 24.
Thank you. It changed my life, Frank. I did not make much money. Again, I'm 56 years old. So we are talking about over 30 years ago. And I think at that time I was making $29,000 because I changed jobs. And I got a $1,600 inheritance from my grandmother. Well, back then, I mean, was worth a little more then than it is now, but
Sure.
still, I mean, and because on my father's side, my grandmother, my father's side, they were poor. They lived in Co-op City in the Bronx. They did not have any money. And I thought about that $1,600 because at the time when I lived in Washington, D.C., we had to wear high heels to work. We wore skirt suits. Remember those before Hillary Clinton? We didn't wear pants. We wore skirt suits. And we had purses. And I was going to spend that money. And I thought about it. And I thought, you know what? This is ridiculous. This is a windfall. I didn't expect this money. So this doesn't just go into my budget. This should be saved. This should be managed. And I knew that investing my money, I had to start sometime. And I chose Starbucks stock. Now, in retrospect, it was a stupid idea to spend my entire $1,600 on one stock. But in those days, you had no internet. I had to read the Wall Street Journal every day to see what the stock prices were doing. So in retrospect, if somebody today were to receive a $1,600 inheritance, which would probably be the equivalent of $3,000 today, let's say, you have so many options. You have every online platform. You can do it from your phone. You can buy an ETF, exchange traded fund, which is going to be a diversified basket of stocks. Do that. Don't just pick one stock. But what I did was I picked the one stock, and then throughout, I started a process. Every time I had saved $500 and my checking account went over $500 and I had enough to pay my bills, I bought another stock. And I'd read the Wall Street Journal to see the stocks. And then I would buy a third stock. And before I knew it, I had a portfolio of 10 stocks. So I was diversified.
Good for you. That's brilliant.
And I love how you just jumped in either way. I mean, now retrospect, we're like, I made the mistake here or there, but like the real mistake would have spent all that on money and shoes and on purses and all that stuff, right? And so like there's so much hesitancy when it comes to women and money and not wanting to do the wrong thing. But we talk about this a lot, is just get off the mark, right? Doing something is better than doing nothing. And so was this the absolute best way? Maybe not, but like, you were 90% there, right? And so it's about getting that much closer versus like, well, I'm not going to do anything because I don't know what to do. So let's go buy shoes. As much as shoes are great.
Well, and you will make mistakes. You will have stocks that lose. Did I make money on every stock? Of course not. But when you have a diversified portfolio, think about it. If you have 10 stocks or 20 stocks, let's just make it easy. 10 stocks. If you invest the same amount in each stock and 6 go up and 4 go down, hey, guess what? You're up. So you should have stocks that go down in value. Now, I want to say something. I am not a fan of investing in crypto. In fact, I don't call that investing. I do not call that investing. I call that speculation. Some stocks pay quarterly dividends. We don't have much time on this podcast to go into detail on that. But when you invest in stocks, you're investing for 2 reasons. You think that the stock price, you're hoping the stock price will be higher when you sell it than what you paid for it. That's speculation. But you also may invest in stocks that pay quarterly dividends. Every 3 months, you're getting cash in your account. And if you write a covered call, which is the focus of my book, you have a third income stream, option premium. So when I hear people say investing in crypto, no, they're speculating in crypto. Absolutely different than what I did.
But let's talk about your book. Every woman should know her options. It's about financial empowerment. And so what inspired you to write it? And what would you say are the key messages for women?
People wanted to know how I became a millionaire before I turned 40.
Yeah, tell them the secret.
Honestly, Barb, I thought everyone did what I did. I mean, I really thought it's 2 tips here. You spend less than you earn, number 1. Again, it's hard I had student loans until I was 31. I was paying, back in those days, we'd write little student loan checks, okay, with little coupons, little books. I had student loans. So it was very hard the first 10 years of my working career to spend less than I earned, believe me. But the other thing is that not only do you have to spend less than you earn, in that budget you were talking about, you have to make investing part of that budget. That's a bill you pay. I'm sure we've heard all of this. People talk about in different ways. Pay yourself first, yada. It is so true. And if you pay yourself first, over time, that will compound. And that's how you become a millionaire before you're 40. Okay, let's say you're 50 and listening to this. You still have an opportunity. Now, $1 million isn't what it was, back then, but it's 2 tips. Spend less than you earn and make sure that you have a budget item that every month or every year you're putting money into in your investment. And that could be a retirement plan, could be a Roth IRA.
Yeah, I mean, people could already be doing some of this just with your company match and your 401k and things like that. So even though you're not doing it straight out of your paycheck, you could still be doing it. So you want to be conscious and not just sell yourself short. But I mean, yeah, in my budget line, it's 80-year-old Maggie, and it has like a little emoji of an old lady next to it. And every time I'm like, okay, that's who we're funding. It's that future me. Hopefully I'll be a millionaire before I'm 80, but it's one step at a time.
You are funding your future. You absolutely are. And when women say to me, I don't know anything about investing, that is absolutely untrue. If you have a 401k at work, if you have a TSP, if you have a 403b, you are an investor. You are an investor. What do you think that stuff is invested in? You're doing paycheck contributions. Your company or entity may be matching it, maybe not. It's invested in stocks and bonds and combinations.
And so for women who do say it is scary investing and things like that, or just weren't taught about money, because none of us are really taught about money in school, how do you break that fear, and what are those first steps to kind of feel more confident?
Well, if you don't do it, you're going to run out of money. Your older self is going to run out of money. So you have to do it. It is no different than you have to pay your rent every month. That is the number one thing. So understanding that this is mandatory, not a choice, is going to get you halfway there. And when you understand it's mandatory for your future self, you have a couple of options. You can start investing through your retirement account at work. That's the easiest way to do it. That you don't even feel it. It comes out of your paycheck. If you don't have one at work, you can start a Roth IRA. There's so much information on the internet now to learn. You can go on any online brokerage, or Fidelity, Schwab. They have videos to teach you this, the content you two are providing. Or you can work with a financial advisor and get some professional help to get you started. And there's all types of financial advisors. There's the assets under management. There's folks that work with younger people that are monthly. You pay for some assistance, and maybe you'll learn and can do it yourself when you grow the confidence.
Lori, is it true that you've worked with over 500 divorce cases?
Absolutely.
It's a lot of experience.
In just 7 or 8 years. 7 or 8 years.
That's amazing. So what are the biggest financial mistakes people make in divorce, and how can they protect themselves?
Well, the first financial mistake they make is before the divorce, is before they're even getting married. They don't enter into a prenup. How many people resist prenups? Now, prenups are much more prevalent now than they were before. But think about this. If you do not enter into a prenup, you are entering a prenup. You're entering into the prenup of the family law statutes in your state. And I will tell you, California's are incredibly complex. So I always say to people, before you get married, you need a conversation with your fiance about, are you going to have children? Who's going to stay home to raise the children? Are you both going to be working and having childcare? What happens if the marriage doesn't work out? Will there be spousal support? That's number one mistake. The second mistake is not understanding about, at least in California, every state is different, separate versus community property. Did you know in California that once you get married, I don't care if your spouse is sitting on the couch eating bonbons, your income is now your spouse's income, okay? Assets and debts you acquire during the marriage are both of yours unless you have a prenup or other conditions. So to get married without understanding the laws in your state is gambling.
I know this is kind of a nitty-gritty detail, but let's say I get married in Missouri and we move to California and then we decide to get divorced. Is it the California divorce rules or the Missouri because we got married in Missouri?
It will. So every state has a residency requirement, but typically if you've been in California, let's say well over 6 months, you would be getting divorced in California. Now, there's obviously jurisdictional issues when one of you lives in another state, but the common thing is you might have been in Missouri and then you move to California. Now you have a residence in California, you're probably getting divorced under California laws.
Okay, yeah.
So where do people go to find out what the divorce laws are in their state before they get married?
So I think one of the things they should do is actually talk to a family law attorney in their state rather than trying to research some of this, because some of this stuff can be very complicated. And I think what you'll find out when you talk to an attorney, you can get a consultation, you'll find out how your state defines marital property and separate property. You'll understand what happens to your retirement accounts or investment accounts that you may have. You will understand if you owned real estate before you got married. You will understand how child and spousal support is calculated. So very important before you get married, even if you don't want to have a prenup, I think you should talk to a lawyer because you may want a prenup after you talk to a lawyer. And second of all, the exercise of going through a prenup is phenomenal because you and your soon-to-be spouse must disclose all assets and debts, income and expenses. And even if you don't sign the prenup, you have had that disclosure and you're going to learn a lot. And you really are going to learn how to communicate about money because nothing's going to be hidden from day one.
And I think that's so important is because it's one of those things we don't talk about, which I think is so interesting is like the love of the life, the person you want to spend your whole life with, yet you still can't talk to them about finances. And so many people we find do end up going through divorce later. And a big reason is due to finances. And so you want to know what you're getting into. And so if you can't have these conversations before, maybe it's not the right fit. If there's a lot of fighting just when we're having these conversations about a prenup, maybe those are flags that you should be looking at because like you said, money's going to play out in everyday things, especially if somebody decides to stay at home and then there's cynical because I couldn't work or you work and now you control the money. You need to have those conversations and play out those scenarios. And we know people just kind of avoid that because it's not like the most glamorous thing.
Right. Well, it's interesting. I was thinking, the women that I work with who are the breadwinners, obviously it's important for them to understand what the money situation is because they're bringing in most of the income. But it's even more important, I think, for the stay-at-home parents or part-time workers to know about the money situation because they are dependent on their spouse to earn income. And they are dependent. And when you are dependent on something, and you are in a black hole of knowledge, that puts you in a very weak position. So whether you're the breadwinner or you're not the breadwinner, you must understand what's coming into the household, what's going out of the household. And then if you are in the situation where you are getting divorced, you have to think how you're going to do it. Even if you are so angry with your spouse, try mediation if possible with a good mediator because you're going to save a lot of money. You're going to avoid the whole court stuff. And when you go to court, all the issues with discovery, with prepping for expert witnesses, for all the forms, all the stuff, it adds so much money to the divorce. And that is money that could be going to your children's college education. So think about, can you, even if you are so upset with your spouse, can you at least work somewhat cooperatively on the business of divorce?
I totally agree with that. Yeah. Mediation is, I think, the best first step and work diligently to try to make that happen. I've seen way too many people invest so much money arguing over simple things. It's a power struggle. It's an emotional struggle. And it's so darn costly. But something you said earlier, I think we need to somehow normalize having a discussion with a family law attorney before getting married. I mean, make that a normal process step in the planning, just like when you're planning for your wedding and you have all the different people you need to meet with. Because people look at that as, oh, then you don't trust me, or you must not really be in love with me, or you're saying this really won't work. When really you're trying to solidify and make sure it does work in a way that's fair and equitable moving forward.
Absolutely. And you will avoid so many fights and arguments with your spouse when you have a prenup. I mean, I walk the talk. I insisted my husband sign a prenup when I got married, and we've agreed upon what will be joint expenses. I really raised his daughter full time from when she became age 14. She moved in with us full time. And we had discussions about how much I would contribute to her college. She's not my blood daughter, but she certainly is my daughter through marriage. And we have joint household expenses, and then we have money we spend on our personal. I don't complain when he comes home with a new Cadillac, and he doesn't complain when I spend $250 getting my hair colored. Amazing.
Right. Love it.
So I do want to add one thing is that when folks are going through a divorce, I do recommend they work with somebody in my profession, the Certified Divorce Financial Analyst, CDFA. There's more and more becoming educated and trained all the time. And how we can help, particularly in mediation, we can either be a neutral financial analyst while you're going through mediation, or oftentimes women hire me as their advocate. So to give them the confidence to negotiate, to understand, while everything may look like close to 50-50 division on paper, when you think about the after-tax impacts, the future, and how she's going to be set up for financial success, she may want to change or propose different divisions of assets. We also look at child and spousal support and what her cash flow will be if she's paying it, which many of my clients are paying it, yes, to their spouses, or if she's receiving it. So another way to reduce costs when you're getting divorced is working with a CDFA, because our hourly rate is much lower than the attorney's rates, and we can do the financial analysis for you, which will help narrow the scope of what you need legal advice on with your attorney. So it's a great service. I think it really helps people divorce holistically.
Yeah, we're big proponents of, working with someone who has the CDFA, as you guys are the experts in finance. And then you get your lawyers or your mediators who's expert in the law, when everyone can kind of stay in their lane, because those divisions of assets have a long rippling effect once the divorce is over, for better or for worse. And so you want to make sure you know how that's going to play out and are prepared for that as well, because it can be, a lot of decisions you make in an emotional time, and you want to make sure those decisions are still setting you up for success, or at least neutral, versus just having a long struggle after that. And so I know women starting from zero after divorce, or just never handling their finances. What's the best advice for kind of taking control and building your wealth at that point?
Oh boy, I've worked with so many women in that situation, women who have been married to the high income earners, haven't written a check in 30 years, that kind of thing. It's been an honor to work with those women. They have been students learning financial literacy from scratch. I'm never patronizing, I'm never condescending, I'm never putting anyone down. I'm raising up, I'm giving support. We're doing it bite-sized pieces. And I'm going to be in tears because, as I said, I'm retiring from wealth management to focus solely on divorce financial planning. And the women that I worked with during their divorces, who I ended up managing their money, they've told me how much I've just impacted their life. The work I do impacts people's lives. They were in such fear, in such pain, scared to death. And now you would not believe the metamorphosis in these women.
Yeah.
It's
Good
unbelievable. My husband says, why do you work on divorce? He was divorced. It was horrible for him. Why? I feel like, look, I'm not a social worker. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a nonprofit worker. But with my skills, I'm a math guru and everything. And I'm finally found a place that I can use my skills to really give and help people enhance their lives. This is why I do this.
I love it. It's beautiful. And thank you for the work that you do, because so many women need the skills that you bring, and the advice and the coaching and the cajoling and the cold shower talks, all of that, to really get in line and create a beautiful life for themselves post-divorce. So that's fantastic. We do ask each of our guests one question at the end, and we'd love to hear from you on what is your own definition of financial freedom, Lori?
Not having to worry about money. And let me explain. We have so much in this world to worry about right now. So much. And if you can throw money off your list of worries, you can start focusing on your health, on your family, on making this world a better place. And I've achieved that. I no longer have to worry about money. And believe me, there's plenty of things I still worry about.
Doesn't mean all worries are gone, but it helps. Well, this has been so much great information, Lori. We're so glad to have you on here, have these women, have you as a resource, because we know you are really impacting these lives and helping women change their lives and really live the best next chapter. So we appreciate you coming on today, sharing your expertise. Links to your books and all your social media will be in the show notes, so everyone can reach out to you and get connected and use your services if necessary. So thank you again for coming on and sharing your expertise.
And I thank you so much, Barb and Maggie, for everything you do. I just really appreciate everything you're doing for women. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Women in Money, the shit we don't talk about. Now it's time to take what you've learned and make bold moves towards financial independence. Stay in the know by joining our newsletter for exclusive tools, resources, and updates that keep you financially fearless. Head to pursestrings.co and sign up today. Need a financial professional who gets it? Turn to Purse Strings Curated Directory, your go-to resource for financial experts who know how to put you first. Love this episode? Leave us a review and help us empower even more women to own their financial power. Until next time, be financially fearless.